name is Paula Natoli. I am currently part of the Google Cloud organization as part of the industry solutions team, focusing in on supply chain and logistics solutions. Relatively new to the Google Cloud organization, only being here less than a year. But prior to that, I spent 2+ decades in the supply chain enterprise software space with a company called JDA Software, now known as Blue Yonder. How did I learn about the field of supply chain? So, it's interesting. As I started out my undergrad at Penn State, I knew I was going to go into the business field, so I started to take all of the 300 level courses, introduction to marketing, accounting, finance, etc. And I had what was called then BLOG, Business Logistics 301 course, which was really an introduction to supply chain management led by Dr. Coyle. And I sat in that forum building, and for once, it was the first time that something actually clicked for me. And I said, wow, I get it. This is actually cool. I understand it. Even though I made my way through accounting and marketing and all that stuff, I was like, that's good stuff. But this I get, and I felt a passion for it. So I'll actually attribute my interest in the world of supply chain to Dr. Coyle. So how has being a woman in supply chain shaped my life? I think in general, it's given me a pretty big purpose. It's funny. I think when I was younger and everyone said, what did you want to be when you grew up? And I said, oh, I want to be a teacher. I was either wanted to be a teacher or a veterinarian. And I quickly learned, well, you know what? I think I have a knack for the business field. And so, over my career, I tried to find opportunities that balanced those, meaning I spent time in the educational services department of my software company. So I was actually balancing supply chain in the business world with education. So it was really interesting. Of course, never went the vet route, but I do have a dog, so maybe that counts. But how has it shaped me? I think it really gives me purpose, because the world of supply chain is the foundational underpinning of how everything operates in the world. Everything's moving, whether it's down to the end consumer level and you're going to the grocery store, whether it is a semiconductor company building chips that's going to go into your cell phone, whether it's moving building supplies to build your home or the next office. And frankly, even nowadays, it's moving critical healthcare materials, whether it's the vaccines or medicines, etc. So supply chain on the business side is exciting and fun, but when you look at it on the other side, you're actually making the world go around, and that gives me purpose. Yeah, so I would say, the world of supply chain and technology broadly still is indeed very male dominated. And I've had my share over the years as well. Around slight barriers. I wouldn't say that I've had a huge barrier, but what I've noticed is it comes with levels of subtleties. Let me just give you a couple of examples. Receiving a hotel confirmation from a foreign country. I was doing some traveling in Asia, and I received an email confirmation welcoming me to the hotel, and it was addressed as Mr. Natoli. Don't know where they got that. It's, maybe is it an underlying bias? I don't know. Or how many times I've gotten emails that are addressed to Paul instead of Paula. And I kind of, take it with a grain of salt, and I say, hey, that gives me an excuse to not have to answer or reply, because frankly, it's not addressed to me. But I think sometimes those subtleties pile on and become a little barrier of itself. But it frankly forces you to push harder. And, I did take it upon myself here and there to correct a few people. And it was kind of amazing as it would happen in the future. People start to catch themselves. And I think it becomes more self-awareness of other people just doing those subtleties. And I'd get people responding, I'm so sorry, Paula, I didn't mean to address you as Paul. But I think, those subtleties you kind of take with a grain of salt and you move forward, but you don't always sweep it under the carpet, you address it. And I think it becomes a level of self-awareness for other people. And I feel like I'm making a difference. And frankly, it allows me the opportunity to impart that on others. Twofold that I've done is, on one side, I love mentoring. So I love, my definition of success is seeing maybe somebody on my team get promoted, giving them the floor to throw out a new idea, giving them the opportunity to succeed. And I think sometimes in the world of supply chain and technology, more of that approach in the world of management and leadership really starts to address the growth opportunities that we have in so many other females and males in the world of supply chain and technology. So I take it upon myself to make sure that I'm doing that and giving back from a company-wide perspective. But frankly, I also do that on my children, and whether they like it or not, they have learned about supply chain as they have grown up, down to the point when they were younger and I'd take them to the grocery store and I would indeed be that lady at the checkout as the cashier is scanning my yogurts and said, scan 1 and multiply by 10. And I actually correct them and just say, oh my gosh, you're ruining the entire supply chain. And so I given them great opportunity to embarrass them, because any mother should do that. But frankly, I think they're also learning about the world of supply chain at a younger age. Advice. I'm going to actually pass along some advice that I did have from a mentor / coach in one of my roles. Sometimes people see things in you that you might not see in yourself. And it is upon you to make that known, to make it visible. You can't sit around and wait quietly and say, oh, I'll wait. If I'm good enough, someone's going to come to me and tap me on the shoulder. You have to be able to self-promote. And that comes from your own self-awareness and then being able to self-promote it across an organization. So in those cases, you got to raise your hand. You have to make yourself a seat at the table. And I use that in one of my examples. One of the roles that I took on in my prior organization, I did so by getting advice from someone else to say, hey, go ask for it. Go throw your hat in the ring. And I don't think I would have done that without that advice. And I got the job. So I think that is a critical thing. Don't sit back quietly. Put yourself into those uncomfortable positions, and make yourself known. My background in the world of supply chain technology comes out of product management. So I've spent the majority of my career helping to build supply chain solutions that manufacturers, retailers, wholesale distributors, logistics companies actually operate and run their supply chains on. And with that, you end up curating very strong partnerships with a lot of those companies. They're depending on you. They're depending on your software to provide the services to their customers. So it's actually a pretty big deal to be holding those reins. And I think one of my proudest moments in my career was we were at an annual conference that the company puts on, that's put on for all of customers and partners and press. And one of my customers was delivering one of the keynotes on the main stage. And as he was delivering it, he actually called out the partnership that he has with people within the organization. And he named myself and one other of my colleagues by name, asked us to stand up in this crowded conference room. You're talking, I don't know, maybe 1,000 people or so. And his commentary was, we love you, right? What better validation can you get than that type of response, knowing that you are helping to cultivate a partnership that is helping them to achieve supply chain excellence?